Welcome, everyone, to Mythstorie, a podcast about myths and history. I am one of your hosts, Bryant, with my permanent guest, Cammy. Cammy, welcome back on your show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm well. How are you?
I'm really well. And so is the show. I want to take a minute before we get to the normal stuff. So the show's been growing really well. It's been almost 3 years now. It'll be 3 years next month, right? Oh, no, it is. Isn't it? 3 years like right
Is it
now?
September? Yeah, it will be. It will be when the episode airs. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. Holy cow. Well, happy 3rd year anniversary,
Thanks.
Cammy,
You
for
too.
our baby. And everyone, if you haven't jumped on YouTube, we've been putting, we have a video podcast. It helps us when you click and subscribe, even if you don't watch it on here. I know you prefer our beautiful voices through podcast services. And I will say for our 3rd year anniversary, we just hit 10,000 total listens through the analytics that we have through Pinecast. So that's really cool. It's been great. Especially this last year has been really wild. So thank you everything that you've done for everyone who listens, our regulars. We really appreciate the support. This has just been a super fun project for Cammy and I think it's really helped us stay in contact a bunch more than we ever thought we would, especially in the pandemic. But today, so back to it, Mythstorie, we pick anything from a person, topic, legend. We just hit Mr. Drakey Man, pirate guy, right? That was fun.
Yes.
That was a fun one. This time we've got a bit of a concept here. Instead, this is the days of the week, which is something I've kind of wanted to talk about. Cammy, can you describe what a day is? No, I'm just kidding. Cammy's going to have a story behind this, and then we'll kind of talk about it a little more. The big premise here being, for me, my angle is that, we use Germanic names mostly when a lot of the other Roman influenced world uses Roman and Latin stuff. So Cammy, you have a story. Please regale us.
Okay. So I use the King James version of the Bible for this. In the beginning, God was in darkness. He spoke the words, "Let there be light." And he saw that there was light. Then he divided light and dark and named them night and day. And seeing that they were good, night passed into morning, the first day. Then God said, "Let there be a divide between the waters." And so it was. The sky above and the water below, named by God the heavens and the earth. He saw that it was good. And again evening passed into morning, the second day. God spoke on the next day and said, "Let there be dry land upon the waters, and let the land and waters be separate from each other." The water he named sea, and the land he named earth, and it was good. He then said, "Let there be all manner of fruited tree and seeded grass upon the earth." Thus it was so. And he saw this, and it was good. The evening passed into morning, the third day. Then God said, "Let there be lights in the night and in the day, the sun to rule over the day, and the moon to rule over the night." And so it was, and it was good. Evening passed to morning, the fourth day. God said, "Let the waters bring forth creatures, and the sky bring forth creatures." And God put his blessing upon them, so that they might be plentiful. Evening passed into morning, the fifth day. Then God said, "Let there also be creatures of the earth." It was so, and God saw that it was good. He blessed them too, so that they might be plentiful. And then God made a special creature from the earth, molded in his image. And he gave this creature domain over every living thing, and over the earth itself, and the sky and the sea. And he beheld his new creature, and seeing that it too was good, the evening passed into morning, the sixth day. On the seventh day, God, pleased with all he created, decided to rest. And this day he blessed too, and made it holy, so that all creation should have a day of rest.
Very good. King James, he's a good guy, right? Wrote a lot of good stuff.
Probably not.
Yeah, well, medieval, contemporaries. No, and that's a great story for this. I thought you were going to jump into the Latin stuff when we first decided to do this, but it's hard because it's pretty obvious. If you know French or Spanish, or another, Romance inspired language, you can kind of easily see. In fact, Saturday is really the day. Saturday is based off of Saturn, who is the equivalent to Cronus, right? The father of Zeus. That's the
yeah. Sorry.
No, you're fine. So that's really like the main day that we kept. That the English language based off the Germanic language kept that was Latin influence, and it's kind of interesting to see. So the 7 days of the week, as we know them, of course, it starts typically as like Sunday, which is Sun's Day, Sunna or Sol, which there's sort of ideas that also is kind of the Latin, Sol being Latin, but Sunna is also sort of a Germanic day. There's Munendag, which this was in the Germanic tradition, Moon's Day, which is also again, there's a connection here. What is the Latin one? I don't want to pronounce
Luna, I guess. Let me
Dies
look
Luna.
it up.
That's the day of the moon, right?
Dies Lunae, yeah.
Yeah. And then it goes on. Tuesday is, and I actually didn't know this one because I know, Thursday is obviously Thor's day, but Tuesday comes from Tyr, who is kind of like, he's like the god of war in a way, in Germanic and Norse mythology. Remember, those two are very connected, which is related to Mars. So like the Germanic and English, what we have, our modern names, they parallel the Latin. It's always like, who's the equivalent? And we talked about it in several episodes before. God, what was the one we talked about? I remember there was one Roman philosopher who, when Rome was fighting them barbarians over the Rhine or whatever, he would, there was a Roman historian and philosopher who would write, I think it was the guy who wrote the like history of the people of Germany or like something like that, Germania. And he was saying how he was looking at their gods and be like, oh, they call Mars Tyr. They call, that they have the same gods, they just name them different things. But anyway, so Wednesday is Woden's day. Woden is another word for Odin. Thursday, Thor's day, corresponding with Jupiter. Friday belongs to Frigga, Odin's wife, and Venus. I know I like off the top of my head French, it's Vendredi, Venus day. And Saturday, as I said before, the Roman god for Saturn, which I just don't really get why they didn't pick someone else. But so going a little farther back than that, those are the days of the week. Those are kind of the equivalents in Latin. The 7-day calendar has been used for a long time. It's associated with classical Hellenism and specifically the Hebrew calendar. And in fact, so I used Wikipedia Britannica, and there was another site that I used, EnglishLife.com. That was a nice little write-up on it. They sort of talk about how even the Hebrew calendar is influenced by Mesopotamian and Babylonian stuff. We did an episode on the zodiacs. We did that with Peter, I think. And when we talked about that, we realized that astrology goes way, way, way back. The discussion of the zodiacs and the constellations goes extremely far back, and it's really cool because it kind of stayed. Like, they figured it out hundreds and thousands of years ago, like, ancient to the ancients, but it stuck. It made sense. They had nothing else to do. No Netflix. You just stare at the star and then map it. So from that, and we have evidence that the Sumerians, Babylonians divided the year into 7 days, into weeks of 7 days. And so it's kind of seems like it trickled down. It's the organization. It makes sense. But again, and the Romans even went from an 8-day to a 7-day around 1 to 3 AD. We have evidence from Plutarch, the Greek philosopher, and it's pretty simple that they named the days after planets and the sun and the moon, and those things were named after deities and gods.
Do we know what the missing day was called?
I don't know. Why would you put me on the spot like that?
I don't know. I was just wondering. I'm very curious now.
When we're done with this show, I'll look it up and I'll tag it in the end. Okay.
Okay.
I don't want to clickety clack right now, but so I guess what's wild to me is why keep these names, and this is something I really couldn't answer for you. I guess it kind of makes sense in the Roman influenced areas why, like, even in modern France and Spain and like Romanian, they use the Latin Roman names. It kind of makes sense, it's a heritage. But for me, I guess it's the same sort of thing for the Anglo-Saxon or Teutonic / Germanic myth. It's just interesting, like, why during the Christianization period of these people, why would they not copy? Why would they not say like Vendra Day or Venus Day? Why don't we say Venus Day when it's Friday? Like, I could not find this out. I'm really sorry. I really could. This was like the reason why I wanted to do this episode, but I couldn't figure it out. What's wild, though, to something I do know and did see is Hindu tradition, East Asian tradition has been even influenced by the Roman Latin. It seems like Chinese tradition on days of the week was sort of influenced by contact with Rome and Greeks and the Mediterranean, things like that, which there were trade lines. And I guess it makes sense if you're trying to trade, like, hey, when you bring in the silk, I'll bring it on
Right.
Venus Day. Okay, I'll see you on Venus Day. So it kind of stuck. And I guess when you organize it and it makes sense, why change what doesn't work? What's cool though in the Hindu tradition, they would also this doesn't just happen in the Hindu tradition; it happens in all over the world. The influence from the Roman tradition is there, and they almost always seem to do that thing where like Mercury is Wednesday, Mercury being kind of one of the highest gods. And so like, Woden takes that spot for Wednesday, and Buddha is sort of takes that day too. When you see in that language tree in India, you'll see like you can kind of make out the word Buddha too. So it's really wild. They seem to always just like take it and then sort of like, well, what's our main god? What do we put on Wednesday? So I really like that they kept doing that. So
I find it really interesting that they didn't make Wednesday Loki's day if it was Mercury's day.
Well, they, Loki was a POS, so you weren't like praising Loki. I mean, I guess if you were terrible,
right, but they were both like the psychopomp gods or whatever.
Sure, I get. Retroactively looking at it, I think we're able to say that. But I think back then Loki was, he was. I had this revelation. He's Team Rocket. Every episode of Pokemon, Team Rocket is there for some reason to add conflict, so that way you can have an actual like cookie cutter plot. And that's what Loki was. He was just Team Rocket coming in, messing up stuff, so that way you could have conflict and then a resolution, and then Loki would blast off into space. But yeah, I really like this. I was, like I said, I didn't know about Tuesday being connected to Tyr, who's in the God of War, Norse version one, super lot of connection to Tyr, and there's a big deal with that because Kratos is like the God of War, but it's Tyr, but Tyr's not in it, but he is only on screen. Anyway, it's really cool to see that. I didn't realize that Tuesday was connected to that. Again, even Wednesday, I only learned about Woden being another name for Odin because of Bernard Cornwell's Saxon series. He mentions that that the protagonist's ancestors called him Woden and not Odin. So it's just a lot of fun to see. But yeah, so if you have some time, you can go to Wikipedia's page. They have a whole write-up. You can see like every language and their version, and it's really wild to see. Like any romance language has like little variations, but then it gets great when you go into Asia. You see the variations, but you can still it's you can make it out. It's legible. You can find these words, like I said, Buddha being in place for Wednesday and things like that. It's just super cool to see. But again, I ask anyone listening, if you have an idea or if if you can link us something, why did the like Anglo-Saxons, why did the English and Scandinavians and Germanic peoples of today, why did they keep this? Why do they keep the pagan gods? That's the word I was trying to say. Why do they keep the pagan influence there? I feel like that's just so weird. Maybe it was just like, look, I'll go to church on Sundays and pay tithe, but it's Tuesday. I'm not changing that. That's my only guess. That's really all I can think. It's just like, well, it's Tuesday. We can't change that. Because I think about, all the, when like Ireland was being Roman or Christianized, how so many traditions stayed regardless, no matter how pagan they were. It's just like, well, at least they're praying and saying Jesus instead of Thor. But that's the best I can think of. So Cammy, thank you for your story. I think that was a great perspective on the influence of things. That King James version was, that's Old Testament stuff right there. And that's where all this really stems from as far as how the logic stream goes. But it's just, good to remember it's way older than that. We have Mesopotamian, Babylonian influence, and it's just stuck. It's just stuck, just like the zodiac signs. So I love that to see. But let us know if you have any idea, if you can answer my question. I'd love to know your thoughts. I think that's it, Cammy. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, that's it.
Awesome. Well, everyone, again, thanks for all your support. Happy 3 years for the show. Hopefully we can do another 3 if we can think of stuff to talk about. But let us know if you have any topics. Remember, mythstorie@gmail.com. We also have our link tree in the description. Find us on YouTube and all that good stuff. I think that's it. So we will indeed see you all next time. Oh, I don't have a blurb. Hey guys, quick thing, just forgot when Cammy and I left, we were like, wait, we were supposed to talk about the 8th day of Rome. So quick little search. It looks like it comes from the Etruscans, the people who came, who were kind of in the Rome area before it was Rome, a couple hundred years, like 8th century BCE, roughly. They didn't have a name for it in particular. I'm just going off Wikipedia here, but they had something called the Nundinae. And this sort of changed, though, with the coming of the 7-day week. It just didn't make sense. The weird thing is Nundinae means literally like 9th day. Nine, Danae. It's kind of like day. Cammy and I were talking about this afterwards on the phone. The name of the 8th day cycle, I'm quoting Wikipedia, is based upon the Latin word for 9 because the Roman tended to count dates inclusively. Each Nundinae was thought to follow the next after a 9-day interval because the first day was included in the count. So they kind of like go, if you think like Sunday, like a week being, we think of weeks as like Sunday to Saturday or something like that. They kind of thought it as like Sunday to Sunday. So they just kind of kept counting it. That's the best explanation I got. Sorry for that. All right, guys, take care.